Anthony Joshua is back with a knockout, but it was painful to get there. What's going on, people? Welcome back to the StayWeighedIn YouTube channel. I'm enjoying my man Ray. How you doing, man?
Start of the week, start of a new working week, and here to cover the weekend's fight, which was no comment, man.
No comment, but we're here for another 15 minutes or so. So you got to make some comments. But let's go straight into it. Anthony Joshua beats Robert Helenius. That's it. It goes out my mouth sometimes when I come to pronouncing fighters. 7th round KO, I believe. Let's just call a spade what it is. That was basically a timid performance when it really shouldn't have been anything of the sorts. And getting that knockout, it was an impressive knockout, but it was pretty struggling when it came to it. So talk to me about the fight itself.
Do you know what? Yeah. I don't know why AJ was taking so long to do that move. What he done to Helenius, I believe, if I'm correct, Derek James was calling that from him earlier, but the grace that we have to give Anthony Joshua is the fact that that is a last-minute replacement. It's a last-minute replacement. You've been in camp training for Dillian White, who's smaller, different stature, different fighting style. Now you're facing someone who's way taller. You have to adjust to him. So I'll give him grace, but I think because it took so long to adjust him is what the issue was. Because obviously, first 4 rounds, and please bear in mind, it's easier said than done. I'm not trying to tell a pro that, oh yes, go in there and adjust at a high level. But obviously, too much is given, much is expected. So it was kind of like I think after the 4th round, I think people are just like, how long do you need to figure him out? Like, this is ridiculous. And yeah, and it's just like you could see the timeline of people that's turning on Joshua. Those who are, don't get me wrong, I saw some hardcore accounts where they were just like, oh, Joshua's footwork's looking improved and such, and his head movement, even though he did get touched up sometimes. But I think the biggest thing that came from this is people watching Anthony Joshua and thinking, if you're not going to commit to your fighting style,
why are we committing to you?
That, and secondly, you can't hesitate in there against Wilder because everyone's saying that's the next fight. Now, here's the issue with the Wilder thing. Wilder also has times when he goes off rounds and he gives away rounds. I think the way some people talk on Wilder sometimes is kind of like he's this mythical beast, and it's like, no, he's not the greatest boxer. He just has a very great equalizer. And the only issue is, though, Wilder does not hesitate with that equalizer, whereas with AJ, from the perception is from a lot of fans is there's a lot of hesitation whenever he goes into fight now. It was almost like, I think Enzo Maccarinelli was saying, AJ now looks like he's overly coached. Like you're becoming too much of a thinking man, and it's not an instinct. And obviously, you want to get a right balance of coaching and instinct. And then I think a lot of people, well, let me not say a lot of people, Enzo Maccarinelli, I think that tweet really stood out where he just said, it looks like Anthony Joshua's been overcoached. Like, obviously, your coach wants you to do what he wants you to do, but I'm sure at the same time, your coach probably thinking, yo, use what I taught you instinctively. You don't always need me to tell you every single little detail that I want. But then ironically, Derek James called for the jab to offset him and then hit him with an overhand right, and it came. So
I think one thing that's probably contrasting is the way Wilder knocked out Helenius compared to Joshua and the quickness and the swiftness of it. And when one thing that's interesting you mentioned, because when I was watching the fight, you hear the crowd, but you don't hear boos as loud as I heard them. You could actually hear the O2 kind of booing and saying to Joshua, we're kind of bored of this.
Yeah.
At what point then? Because obviously, like you said, Wilder seems to be the next fight, but is it smart for Joshua to go into that fight? Or do you think he should do what he said, kind of fight? He wants to fight 2 more times, and by my schedule, it'd be October, December, if he can ever pull that off. Does he need 1 more fight before Wilder, or should it just be a case of let's do this December showcase fight with Wilder?
Here's where it gets tricky. I think with AJ, it's almost like he feels like he should have been with Derek James sooner. I think he likes this fit, but he wants to have more fights than the Derek James just to get, more in sync with him. At the same time, it's just kind of like, when will ever be the best time? I think 2 more fights this year is excessive, especially if you're meant to be facing Deontay Wilder in January. On the other hand, I do kind of get what AJ is doing, because it's just like, if I'm not going to be facing world champions and the level's not going to be as great, why am I waiting so long to fight? So my thing is this: if you're definitely going to fight in January, then just fight in January. If that is not definitely on the books, one more time this year will be nice. 2 more, I don't know. The only issue is now is commercially, I don't know how AJ is looking now, especially after that fight. Obviously, the knockout was exciting, but the fight itself wasn't. The card was a bit. O2's getting more expensive, so it's kind of like, how many times can you squeeze the last out of the cash cow? Pause.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, how much more can you squeeze out of the cash cow?
The thing is, with the DAZN deal that they've got, and the fact that, again, you had his marquee title fight not be on DAZN. His return fight didn't live up to the hype. Then he had a fight cancelled, I believe. Then the Dillian White fight was meant to be on pay-per-view. That got cancelled, so you have to put on the regular subscription. You look at DAZN, and to an extent, Eddie Hearn probably has got the pressure as well. They kind of have to squeeze as much as they can. But I think for me, I think AJ is going to still be a draw. It's just for me, and no point in the sparring partner with him. Like, is that sparring partner? Because I think if you advertise Joshua versus Helenius right at the start, it's probably not going to do the ticket sales as the Dillian White fight did. I think it just comes down to Eddie being able to understand, we might need to up it up, but it still has to be some form of commercial name. If not Wilder, would you try to do a trilogy with Ruiz? Because I'll tell you the thing, I'll say something. Ruiz messed up AJ a bit in terms of letting go. Usyk completely damaged him, I reckon. They were the 2 things.
Nah, do you know when I think the damage really came in, but we don't give him credit for it? The Klitschko fight. I think that fight changed him in a way that he left some of his soul in that ring. Yeah, he came back from adversity, but he's never been as gung-ho as he was in that Klitschko fight. Some people say it's the Ruiz fight only because he lost, but you actually look at how he fought against Klitschko, and then he faced Joseph Parker after, isn't it?
Yeah.
And people don't realize that was a fight where he resorted more to boxing. He just didn't get credit for it as much. But I think since the Klitschko fight is when and I think to be fair to him, he's admitted it himself. He goes, that Klitschko fight is like, you can only have a certain amount of fights like that. You can't keep on getting into wars like that and not think it's going to take a toll. Forget on your career, on your life. And I think for him, that's why he's trying to be more of a boxer than a puncher, where now I feel like Derek James, it's kind of like he can be a boxer puncher, but he's leaning more towards being a boxer than being a puncher, but it's not as fluid. And I think he's just trying to redefine his style, but it's almost like you can't go against instinct too much. Because, like I said with Wilder, is he a better boxer than Wilder? Absolutely. The only issue is almost like in the seconds that AJ comes across like he's hesitating, we all know Wilder is throwing that punch with no regard, with full commitment to it. He's not hesitating. And I think that's where people are scared. It's just the issue of it comes across as AJ's hesitant and Wilder's not. But here's the thing, you mentioned about Ruiz versus AJ, but Wilder's apparently meant to be facing Ruiz. I don't know.
That fight was meant to be happening, I don't know when it was. It was meant to be in the summer. I remember we joked about it in the group chat that this is going on pay-per-view. It's meant to be in April.
Yeah.
I just heard nothing about it because I believe it was a WBC eliminator to.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
To Fury. So I don't know where that fight's gone. Short time.
Fury's gonna face Ngannou. Do you know what? That's the only time I'm happy that Fury's gonna face Ngannou, because I like Ngannou. I'm just like, do you know what? I'm happy he's getting paid, even though it's under stupid circumstances. But if my guy gets paid, I don't mind. And my main thing is now is, in terms of the heavyweight division, I only care about Undisputed. After this, Undisputed and AJ Wilder, and then any other fight. Because at this point, where can AJ go? Because if the zone might want to recruit the money that they spend on AJ, but then I'm not trying to be funny. After Dillian White fell through, there is no other fights that are pay-per-view worthy for AJ.
I was gonna say, if you really deep the heavyweight division outside of 5, 6 guys, and then to fight, and then some of them are so hard contractually to fight because they've got other things to do. Or Usyk obviously isn't the one that's there.
Yeah.
You've got what, Dubois, who I believe is fighting Usyk.
It's like this Saturday.
I don't know if it's this week. Is it? Yeah. So you've got that, and then like I said, Ruiz, Wilder. You can throw in Dillian White if it was to come back in, but outside of that, you're then falling into the B category, and it's like the B category is not going to get the pay-per-view buys or people wanting to sign up for that type of thing. But then I thought, before we do wrap up, then if you are playing fantasy in that sense, if we do get this fight between Deontay Wilder and AJ, which way do you personally see it going?
Listen, man.
I mean, we've had an inactive Deontay Wilder since he last fought.
Let me tell you something. I am always going to be Team AJ. Even if this delusional, I'm Team AJ. However, AJ cannot go into that fight. What it appears like I'm saying, I'm not saying that he is, but it appears like he's hesitating. You cannot do that against Wilder, because AJ is going to win rounds against Wilder for sure. And what he done to Helenius, AJ can do to Wilder. The issue comes in where AJ got caught sometimes by Helenius, but if you get caught like that against Wilder, you're getting flatlined. And that's what I'm worried about. Is literally, especially the fact that, listen, man, I don't know if I said it in our group chat, another group chat. For me, this comes across like AJ. It's like if AJ had a boxing career, if it was a series, this is the final season, and we're about to see if this finale ends good or bad. The finale could end good with what? If he beats Wilder, then do the Fury fight. Then I would like him to retire, but that's on him. He might still want to fight on, but I don't see the point.
See, I'm with you. I don't think AJ himself sees himself fighting for too long. Like,
I don't know. He seems to fall in love with us. Do you know what it is? He seems to have fallen in love with the sport again, training with Derek James. The only issue is that for many of us viewers, it appears that he's physically declined. But that just comes with age. That just comes with wear and tear.
What I see with AJ now is not necessarily a persona, but before, where it was like, I'm gonna play the nice guy type of thing, it's just come off like it's not necessarily a case of I need you, but I know my value anymore. So
this is heel turn AJ.
Yeah, you want to shit on me, you do that, but you still putting money in my pocket. You're still coming out. So I think that's the difference of AJ that we're seeing. Like you said, the final chapter, this is just that. Well, he might just be creating a new character. You never know.
Listen, man, let me tell you something. Do you want to know what this is the equivalent of? Since we like our wrestling and we use the terms like turning heel. This is AJ in his Hollywood rock phase.
Yeah, okay.
Remember 2003, 2004 when the Hollywood rock came back? This is AJ in Hollywood rock phase. And let's see if Wilder is I don't know, Wilder might be the Stone Cold to his Hollywood rock. And
I hear that. I can hear the Stone Cold.
And listen, and guess what? Remember what happened at that Hollywood against Hollywood Rock. What happened? Hollywood Rock came up on top against Stone Cold. So
I'll be honest with you. If that fight happens, I'm taking Deontay Wilder. But I do want to just quickly transition to a little domestic fight we're having as well.
yeah,
And that is Dan Azeez versus Joshua Buatsi. Now, boxers credit, they're able to make these domestic fights, even though they dropped the ball with Richard Riakporhe last week. So that to one side, what do you make of this fight coming up?
do you know what? Yeah, I was watching the press conference. Do you know who sold this fight for me?
Who?
Isaac Chamberlain and Mikhail Lawal, because those two, they sold that card to me, shall I say? Because I might just go to that, because those two were giving genuine. I liked it. It was like a bit of a conundrum, that whole press conference, because Dan Azeez and Buatsi was given like, I think Buatsi said himself, he went into that press conference and he saw a different side to Dan Azeez, where Dan Azeez is like, listen, I'm coming for war. He's got the marvelous Marvin Hagler hat on, RIP. He's got shades on, and Dan Azeez is like, I know we're boys, but listen, I'm coming to bang out. And Buatsi's got a look of like, rah, we're starting this already. I think obviously I'm sure that Buatsi's probably thinking, okay, when we get to the ring, that's when we switch off being friendship mode and we'll be intense. But Dan Azeez let it say off from early. It was just like, no, from now we're in intense mode. I'm coming for this, because it's funny. I feel like Dan Azeez has a chip on his shoulder, because I feel like Dan Azeez thinks that Boxer is picking Buatsi to win because he's the marquee signing. And then on the other hand, I think like Buatsi feels like Dan Azeez is Boxer's guy because he's been with him longer. So I like it. Sometimes, you know what? At first, I was a bit like on the fence about it, because I feel like either of them would have gone on to face Bivol. But I feel like this is a big match. I like the intensity of it. I like the whole, like, it's giving Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, in the fact that they're two guys that respect each other, but they're like putting that to the side and says, listen, I want to be the top guy out of us two. So, a little London derby as well. So that'll be good. And then, like I said, with Lawal and Chamberlain is just getting under Lawal's skin, and every opportunity he can to poke the bear, he does. So I think Boxer might have a great card on their hands if they play their cards right.
I was going to say, just before we wrap, Boxer also, they've got Liam Smith versus Chris Eubank coming up. So you've got that in Manchester. So providing no cancellations, Boxers still are struggling for me to have that big marquee star. But as long as they continue to grow the domestic side of things, I think they're doing their job. It's still, for me, the only problem is
it can be some good British nights. Yeah, I think. Are you looking to go to?
I potentially could do. I'm still, like I said, because we just like the O2. I've got to find value for money.
Manny's a bit too. I mean, what's the arena called in Manchester again?
AO Arena.
AO, is that becoming a bit too pricey as well now?
Look, everything is. Let's just be honest. But I understand why they're doing it, but I need good value for the price. I'm saying, I may check it out. Yeah, if I'm not working, because I know
you got to see what the card is saying. Yeah, find out what the rest of the card is, because that fight's going to be exciting with Eubank and Smith, especially how the prior one finished. But yeah, listen, Boxers dropping the ball in regards to working with other promoters, cough Matchroom, and the whole Riakporhe fiasco, and not knowing whether Chris Billam-Smith is going to face a Coley or not, and it's a whole bit of a mess. But this is a diamond in the rough with Buatsi first Azeez and Chamberlain first Lawal. So yeah, we'll find out. So hopefully back end of the year, Britain can have a good card, especially I think after the AJ card, some people were like left a bit disappointed because they felt like the card could have been better. I'm sure Eddie Hearn probably seen some stuff and he's going to make sure he atones for that. And then seeing that crazy Irish guy that's moving mad, I'm not going to mention his name. I'm tired of him, but it's just like seeing him and then promoting KSI on the card. It was a whole big mess, man. And I'm just like, let's go back. Let's go back to square one. AJ, if you're gonna have one more fight, I just don't think it should be pay-per-view because I can't think there's no one he can face at this point that can be pay-per-view. And I guess the zone's just gonna have to get their money back through they got a Saudi deal anyway. So and I think everyone that wants to watch the Saudi league get the zone.
No, you're right. Like if you want to Saudi league, you're not wrong. Like
and then they can make up on the money that they gave AJ because I'm sure it's awkward right now that.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
AJ is not the cash cow of former years, but I think the Wilder fight can do it. But definitely, if AJ faces anybody else but Wilder next year, I don't want to see no pay-per-view. There's no point. Dillian White effed it up, man. That could have been a big payday for him, and is what it is. But yeah, in an ideal world, cool. If AJ has one more fight not on pay-per-view, then do that. And then just make sure that the Wilder fight's there. And then, hopefully beginning of next year, we get that Wilder versus AJ and it's Team AJ.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I'm down for that. But before we wrap up, as always, guys, if you're enjoying the content, you know what to do. Drop a like, share, subscribe. Just on a quick side note, I am going to the KSI fight against Tommy Fury. If I can get them tickets, I'm going for the fight. So that's all. I'm just going to put it out there. I just have to do it. I have to do it.
Let me tell you the end game of how that goes. Tommy Fury beats KSI. And then there is Jake Paul versus KSI. And I think that will be the end of those two fighting.
Yeah, for sure. Like I don't see the point in it really carrying on, especially for KSI. But we'll talk about it different because I still like Jake Paul's little vibe that he's going with. But as always, guys.
Wait, no. Abbas, plug your show.
Oh yeah. So even with StayWeighedIn, I've got another YouTube channel as well that will be in the description. It's the Abbas Younis Show. We talk football, we talk NFL. We've got a video coming out tomorrow morning about the transfers. So as always, guys, if you show a little love here, show a little love on the channel as well. Appreciate you for putting that little plug out there, man.
Listen, man, we have to, man. We're bringing out that content. So Abbas Younis Show, and he's got a few projects as well, whether it's wrestling or basketball. So tune in, be on the lookout. Those are the affiliate channels. So if you're StayWeighedIn, follow those ones as well.
Yeah, guys, just listen to what Ray says. And as always, guys, love and peace.